Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's WardsAuto Informa Tech Automotive Group webinar. Today's session is called Toward Actionable Generative AI for Automotive Dealerships. I'm Nancy Dunham. I'm the Principal Analyst for Retail at WardsAuto, which is part of Informa Auto Group. And I want to welcome all of you and say thank you for joining us. I will, of course, be the moderator of today's event. Before we begin, let me explain a little bit how you can participate in today's presentation. Now, to improve your viewing and listening experience, you can move your webcast windows around by dragging on the title bar or resize them by clicking on the lower right corner. Now, at the bottom of your screen, you'll also see multiple application widgets. We want to make sure that you can see and hear everything properly, so please make use of those tools. We welcome questions about our topic, and we'll answer as many as we can following the presentation, but feel free to submit them in the queue at any time. Just type it into the Q&A window on the left-hand side of your screen and hit the submit button, and we will take it from there. Now, please be aware that today's session is recorded, and it will be available for on-demand viewing. You'll be notified by email when that archive is available. Now, joining me today is Tasso Roumeliotis. Did I say that right, Tasso?
Yeah, Roumeliotis.
Okay, and you are the co-founder and CEO of Numa. Now, what a lot of you probably already know is that Tasso is a serial entrepreneur who's the co-founder and CEO of Numa, which is the leading AI in the automotive dealer vertical. And prior to Numa, Tasso founded Location Labs. He was an early pioneer in mobile and location-based technology. He has an MBA from Harvard Business School and a BCom from McGill University in beautiful Montreal. And with that, let's get started. Welcome, Tasso. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to do this.
Of course, no, it's my pleasure. I'm excited to do this.
Well, we're excited to have you. Let's start with a very basic question. What is generative AI?
So I think let's actually step back a little bit because generative AI. So let's talk about like just AI in general and what we perceive as AI. We like to think of kind of the concept of AI and how kind of generative AI has manifested itself as being a few different components, some of which is AI and some of it is not, but it all assembles together. So if you look at just AI, there's kind of first generation AI, which has been with us for a long time. And first generation AI is what you see when you get your Netflix recommendations. What's happening is that Netflix has built an AI that looks at the movies that you like, that you spend a lot of time on, that you give thumbs up to. And so next time you log on, it's recommending things based off of that. That's a learning system. There's the machine learning that's happening based off of what it's learning from your action. In fact, my first company, Location Labs, where we were enabling location-based family services where you could locate your kids, we were really early in doing AI, where we would look at the location of your children and be able to automatically assess that. You know what? You seem to be spending 7 days a week between 4:30 p.m. and 7:30 a.m. at this particular location, at this particular address. We're going to take an AI guess here and assume that that's your home. That's your home. And then between 8 and 4, you spend time at this other location. We're going to assume that's the school, given who you are. And maybe there's the work. So we would automatically create and auto-populate using AI these components for the family location. And then you could build fences around it. And that's what what Location Labs did as its core business. But this kind of first generation, it's with us. It's like what credit card companies use to do fraud detection, right? And what it does is it learns from the actual users, the right and the wrong, and then it determines it's the analyst. It's a recognizer, okay? Now, what it's not is a creator, and that's where generative AI comes. So if you think about the word generative, what does that mean, right? Generative, I'm going to generate something. I'm going to create something, a producer. So that's a lot of the magic that we see with this concept of generative AI. Now, we believe that just this, what I'll kind of label first generation AI is really foundational to building the great services that are going to come across AI. So it's not just going to be generative. Generative is amazing because you're able to do crazy things, but the first generation AI is important. And then just other components as well, like things like automation, which I'll talk about as well. You assemble those together, and that's really the future of how businesses, dealerships, and others are going to be using AI. Now, like just to, and I think a lot of people have kind of logged on and tried kind of GPT or other kinds of generative AI. Like generative AI itself is kind of, as I said, it's a creator. So think about the things that we care about creating. Right? ChatGPT, most of us know, right, is a text creator. So I can ask it to do something and it'll generate text for me, right? That's what it does. Obviously, I might want to create an image. So we all know, a lot of us know that there's other products like Midjourney out there that's specialized. You can ask it to, design kind of a Ferrari kind of in the style of an Escalade or something, and it could do something.
Really?
So all of those kinds of things, and even other some more fascinating things that the great innovators are coming up with. There's a company called Udio, which is a music composer. So you can ask it to make a 2-minute thrash metal song, in the lyrical style of Taylor Swift, and like have Mick Jagger sing it. Really interesting kind of mashups.
I had not heard of that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of things you can do with the generative AI, which kind of creates an output for you. It's a producer. Okay, now. The way we see AI manifesting itself in the world is you have the first generation AI, which is really kind of like a recognizer, the kind of system that learns. You have the generative AI, which creates outputs. And then the third component of this is tying it all together with kind of an even older technology, which are things like automation. Okay, think about rules-based if this, then that. There's a really good company called Zapier, which we use and I use personally. So, and it's really important when you talk about how AI is going to evolve. So the if this, then that rules-based systems, it might be like, hey, every email that comes in from a sales lead, we're going to take that email, we're going to instruct based off of a rule, not an AI, but a rule that you put that all in our customer sales channel in Slack. Okay, that's an example of a rule. So if you combine kind of the automation and integrations, first generation AI and then the generative AI, it becomes a very powerful 3-component building block for what AI is going to be doing. Okay, that's what we're really excited about. It's all those 3 things together, which create these kind of like AI agents that you could hire to do stuff for you. Okay, so and look, I think the other thing I kind of, if I give kind of an example of a real example, a lot of us like to cook and stuff. So from my perspective, if you look at automation, an example of that is like I've got a Food Network newsletter subscription. Okay, I get recipes. It comes once a week. Automation would be send that recipe into my Dropbox recipes folder. That would be automation. Okay. Traditional AI looks at the recipes that I'm using. Okay, and understands the kind of food that I like. Maybe it says, maybe it recommends. So, you like Thai food. I'm going to recommend you make a pad Thai. Okay, generative AI is like the chef, the creator that can propose a whole new recipe to you. To say, I'm going to propose. You love Italian food, especially Roman style food. So I'm going to propose a pad Thai in the style of carbonara sauce with pecorino cheese and and pancetta. Okay, so they're very different components, all of them powerful working together.
That's fascinating. I'm in dealerships quite often and talk with them a little bit about AI and so forth. And I know there's a little confusion on what car dealerships can do to take advantage of generative AI. Can you discuss that just a little bit?
Sure. So, when it comes to AI, generative AI, it is a tool. It's really kind of, at the end of the day, it's really kind of like a supercomputer. And the whole point of having a tool or a supercomputer is that it solves problems that you have. So the way, like, we think about it is, we're trying to drive, dealership excellence, dealership profitability.
Of course, sure.
There's a whole bunch of different ways and different, kind of operating components that the dealership needs help on. Okay, we like to view it in a few ways. So the first one is, dealerships spend a lot of money on capturing opportunities, sales opportunities that are out there marketing, whether it's ads on Google or even on television, or trying to bring in customers back to the service department. And we see that they struggle to capture all the opportunities that they've paid money for. Okay, so how do I capture all? If I'm missing business, that's bad, right? So that's one area. Another area, and again, these are areas I'll talk through kind of how AI can be helpful today. But another area is helping manage my expenses. I have if I'm having to deal with a whole bunch of inbound leads during a busy time, and am I over hiring? What am I doing? So am I managing? Am I overpaying for things? So obviously profitability is driven, expense is a big driver there. And tied to that is, how can I amplify my employees? How can I make my employees, just work better, do better stuff? Okay, that's another area where AI, especially the generative side, which can help generate content and components for your employees to to do that. That's a second component. That's a second area. So manage expenses and employees, capture all opportunities. The third area, which is perhaps a little bit more difficult to quantify in the short term, but you get punished for it in the long term, is your CSI and delighting customers with great experience. Okay. So those three areas is where AI, and where we see it today, and where it's going to get much more amplified and much more extreme in the future, are the areas that I think are important. So let's talk about the first one, which is capturing all opportunities.
Yes.
Let's specifically, I'm going to dig down, because we do have a lot of expertise. We're, as a company, we look at the service department. That's where we look to be helpful to. So when I first got into, and Numa, we didn't start off selling to car dealerships. We initially sold to all small businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, including in healthcare. When we saw we saw the service department of a car dealership, the functioning of it is a lot like a hospital, including the complexity of it. If you look at car being run in the service department, the parallels are there. You got to check engine light. I have symptoms. I need to go to the hospital. I need to make an appointment. I need to have different specialists look at me. I need to be repaired. I need to get treatment. I need to get a prescription for something. So the complications of a hospital, which is a really complex business, is parallel to the service department. And we see our service department leaders, fixed ops directors, service managers, even service advisors, and BDCs as well, effectively understaffed, undermanned from a technology perspective, given the complexity of a service department. So let's talk about one of the things that a service department is failing at. All service departments fail. Opportunity capture. You have customers that, like you, want to come and service the car warranties or check engine light. They want to come in. Okay, 70% of that business comes from people picking up the phone and calling your service department to make an appointment. 70% of your revenue from your profit center, which is your service department. Okay, well, you're missing 40% of those calls. It might be after hours, right? It might be during peak load. It might be during lunchtime and the BDC team is out. Or you might not have a BDC and it goes into service advisors and they're running around. They're not picking up their phone. Okay?
Exactly.
And then you see that 50% of those of the voicemails that you get also go unanswered.
They absolutely do. You're absolutely right. And there are a lot of complaints from customers for that. I know that from the service directors and so forth. Absolutely.
So it turns out that 3/4 of the upsets customers that drive negative CSI is because you didn't get back to them. Exactly. It's a pretty basic thing. Okay, so what can AI do? It can do a few things. It can't do everything right now, and maybe we'll never be able to do everything, but it can do some things for you. So one of the amazing things with generative AI is it's able to, on a chat-based basis, have a very high quality human-like interaction with the people that call into your dealership. So why are they calling? Okay, so calling and making an appointment. Okay, so somebody can't pick up, an AI can help via text, even via voice, right? Nurture that customer, get some information, and help them book an appointment. Or at least help the customer get to the best place where the customer feels most natural in making an appointment. Okay, that's one of the things. So no call should ever get left unanswered. And so you always have a fallback where AI can do the best that it can do in today's world, incorporating generative AI, so these large language models that are able to have these conversations with customers. Okay. Some of the other things that AI can do. So we see it very, very, very viscerally. So your very classic scenario: customer calls, right? You didn't call back. You didn't call them back. They call for the third time. That customer is pissed. Okay. An AI is sentient. A good AI is sentient. It's able to see it's third time the customer called and they hung up the second time. They're not happy. AI picks it up and says, we see a smart AI is going to pick it up and say, oh my God, we see that it's a third time that you've called. I need to move you to the front of the queue. We also iterated. We know that perhaps the customer has a car in the shop. They've called 3 times. They've been hanging up. You elevate that customer and you tell them to the front of the queue. Okay. And you use AI to then enable the workforce, the BDC, service advisor, whoever is on point to give that customer, deal with that customer. You let them know this customer is high priority. They've been calling. They're not getting their questions answered. The communication has fallen off. We need to get back to them. We need a status update. You need to get back to them quickly. This is AI using all different components, generative AI, large language models, intelligence, understanding kind of the current state of a customer to be able to better serve them. Okay, so this is an example of you capture all your opportunities and you also give an experience to a customer that is significantly better than what you're seeing today. Okay, so that's an example on the service side. On the sales side, obviously dealers spend a ton of money getting leads, but if you look at the inundation of leads that come in, they don't have the staff to handle everything. A seller, a car salesperson is not really somebody that's the best at nurturing kind of a soft lead, right? It's a different kind of a skill set. So there's, an AI that can be built that can help you at least nurture that customer and lead them down the funnel so you can hand them off to a salesperson and they can work their magic accordingly. Okay, those are some examples. Now, we see a lot of we did a very deep time and motion study of dealerships. Fascinating, and again, it's one of the most fascinating businesses. It's such a deep, rich businesses, and it's so. I think it's so underappreciated compared to if you look at the resources that are dedicated to areas like healthcare, like I mentioned. So we see that in a dealership, 80% of tasks are paperwork. Okay, service technicians are spending 15 to 20% of their time doing paperwork. Okay, what is one of the things that AI can do? AI can help take paperwork and remove the intense, repetitive human involvement of it. Okay, that's another key area that dealerships should be looking at. Because they're people, rather than spending high quality time interacting with customers where the relationships are strong and the customers end up coming back, they're spending time doing things that a machine can do better. So we're big believers. I'm just big believers in general, which is humans are immensely important, particularly in kind of the interaction with the consumer versus doing drudgery paperwork, which is also not good for your retention of your customer, of your employees, when you can have a machine help them out. Okay. Now, for us, one of the fascinating things we saw in the dealerships is the service advisor. Oh man, that service advisor is really the most underappreciated person in a dealership. First of all, they're understaffed and they are the busiest people. They don't get the glory of the sale. Okay, so they're not hitting President's Club and taking vacations to Europe because they need some number, right? Right. They're busiest people. The skill set of a service advisor is kind of a unicorn skill set that you need to be one. I mean, I looked at it, I'm like, damn, I couldn't do this. This is, so you need to be technical. You're describing and trying to figure out what the problem is with a complex mechanical and now electrical and software machine. Okay. You need to be a great communicator. You need to explain that in layman's terms to a customer. You need to have great soft skills. If you think about who's like coming to the service department, that customer probably does not want to be there, right?
Yes,
nobody wakes up in the morning hoping the check engine light came on. So they're coming in hot. They're coming in unhappy. So you have to have like soft skills to be able to make the customer feel good. Okay, that's hard. All these things are very, very hard skills. Technical, soft. You have to be organized. You have to be a great communicator. And on top of that, a lot of their compensation and the skills that they're evaluated on is the ability to sell, upsell. Give me more revenue from this particular customer.
Right.
That's a big set of duties to give to one person. Okay, and they're running around. So we've looked at the numbers, and 83% of calls to service advisors go to voicemail. Why?
I believe that.
Yeah, right. It's not because
I believe that, yes.
It's not because they're unmotivated or lazy. It's because they're running around. They're greeting a customer at the service lane. They're running to parts. They're going to the service to the shop, trying to running around, trying to figure out what's going on. Right? They're at their computer trying to kind of, fill in something to the DMS and figure out what's going on with the RO, trying to give a customer status update on the phone, right? So everything goes into voicemail. So, AI.
Which no one checks, right? Voicemail.
No one checks, which no one checks. And in fairness to them, in the time and motion study we did, for a service advisor to go through their voicemails in a analog, normal way that most people go through voicemails, the same way you do it on your iPhone, given the voicemail they get in, takes them about 45 minutes to 1 hour every day just to go through voicemail. That doesn't include responding. That's just listening to the voicemails and trying to understand what the customer was saying. Okay? An hour of your day. That's a significant portion of your day. So this is an area where AI can come in and analyze and help you solve your problems. So you don't have to listen to every single voicemail, and AI can help you figure out, here's what you should do with this customer. They're angry, like you should, the generative AI can say, this is an angry customer and this is why they're angry. We recommend you send them this message right now. And what we think is going to happen is service advisors, again, overstaffing, you like, thank you, God, and press that button and send it off. Okay?
Well, that goes back to what you were talking about too, with making sure staff is efficient, making sure they're doing what they should be doing. I've spoken to, and I'm sure you know this better than I do, but I've spoken to some service directors who literally hire full-time people. Their whole job is just to deal with complaints. That's their entire job. 40 hours a week. Just 100%. Talk to Tasso because he's upset because he brought his car in and, he waited 3 hours and no one gave him an update on his service and so forth. Yep. I mean, so I can see where that would be so beneficial to service.
Yes. So the service department, which again has dedicated people that are just dealing with these customer complaints. Part of the big issue that we see, the big pain point is I, as the service manager, fixed ops director, know stuff is happening, customers are upset. I don't know about it until after the customer is hot and charges into my office, or I get called in, or I get a negative review on Google. Okay, what can AI do? What can generative AI do?
Right.
AI can be sentient. I like to use that term because it can look at all of the interactions with the customer, take into account the pure context of it. Customer called back 4 times, hung up 3 times, like texted the service advisor, like, what's going on? I've been waiting for like weeks. I haven't had an update. Okay. A smart AI today can do sentiment analysis and assess if the dealership, if that customer is in a critical stage, and the service manager can reach out to them before the situation, goes completely. Okay? So this is the thing. AI can do things. It can be sentient and like all-knowing and determine through the sentiment analysis and generate an action for the service manager. These are all things that technology enables you to do today. So this is one of the things, not just service advisors, but also service managers, like make your life easier as well. Yeah. So I'd like to show some kind of things dealerships can do for free today.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Just using generative AI, just using kind of like GPT.
That'd be terrific.
Through some scenarios, because it's not just about like, hiring companies. There's things you could do today just using like GPT to help out your team. And like these are just like skills that people should be having using kind of these tools. So why don't I start off with giving one example? So I mentioned with the service advisors, So they need to be able to like sell. So I'm a service advisor. My boss is like, hey, you got to like when there's a certain situation with the tread on the tires, I need you to upsell tires, okay? And they're like, I'm really good at customer service, but man, I'm really not great at selling. And I get all these objections. Help me out here. So we can put that out, right? So this is an example. It's a chat GPT prompt. And by the way, if folks that are on the call, if you do this, you will get a different answer. Everybody on the call will get their own answer. Again, the generative AI is has its own unique way. So based off of even how you've asked, how you prompted it, and the kind of person you are, it's going to have a different example. So here we've the service advisor, like the example I gave, is trying to get new tire approvals from a customer. Okay, so help me overcome the objections. Okay. So we asked it, and in a few seconds, right, it talked about cost, uncertainty about need, and then brand quality and doubts. So it asked it. So you guys can read this here. I'll walk us through it a little bit, but tires seem expensive. Can I wait? And I understand your concern, right? And like we enable this could be something that the service advisor can like read directly from the script. Okay. It prevents bigger expenses down the road, like damage to your suspension or fuel efficiency. You can pay for itself, right? And then you can it also suggests, like if pricing is an issue, right, we have financing options as well. So so the AI understands that expense is an issue. You can say that it could cost you more in the future, and it can be financed. So it's overcoming that. So it's giving you the fundamentals about this, right?
Okay.
Do I really need it? They seem fine to me. Okay, well, like safety is an issue, right? Reduced traction, especially in snowy conditions, right? You can even put things in here about like, think about the, like peace of mind for your kids and all of that kind of stuff. And then, I know I've asked this question a lot because I've had to pay more for tires that seem to be kind of specific to my brand of car. So like, are these really the best? Can I get cheaper, right? And then you give the answer. Like, this is the car, this is the tire that, is better for the durability, handling over time, right? This is going to be, like the tire. So this is an example of how a service advisor can use AI to help them sell. Okay. Sometimes we talked about another skill of a service advisor being technical. Now, service advisors, a lot of them are really smart and technical about understanding the car. It's kind of difficult to communicate in layman's terms. So, some things come up, and from a consumer's perspective, like a timing belt. Hey, why? Like, do I need to do? Why is it important? Right. This is an example. We can put that one up. Right. So, explain the timing belt replacement to a customer who isn't familiar with it. Right. You can imagine this being a text message that's sent to a customer. Let's say we did an analysis of the car. The customer wasn't really expecting this. They're unhappy that now there's incremental expenses and it might not be cheap. But I kind of need to know, because I need to understand the analytical reason as to why I need to get a new timing belt. And you got to explain it to me. But one of the worst things that people really kind of have a revolting kind of feedback on is like, when you get too technical and I don't understand what you're saying, I feel like you're trying to, coax me into something I'm not. Break it down so I can understand. Write it in a cool way, right? So hey, think about the timing belt as the conductor of an orchestra. Okay, now you put it in layman's terms, right?
I like
and
that.
you start to explain it to you. So, these are examples, and you can even, if you want to be kind of goofy about it, you can write a poem about it.
Or AI can write a poem about it for you, right?
That's what I'm saying. The AI would do it. Another example is, sometimes our service advisors running around really busy, and sometimes they could, they don't want to write, sometimes the nicest messages. So one of the things that you can do is, for the service advisor, they can write what they want, and the AI can then intercept what they write and convert it into a more professional tone. So this is an actual example that came from one of our customers, where when we were kind of trying to get kind of content from them in terms of what would be good scenarios, and this is exactly from that, which is like, hey, have the AI, here's what I'm feeling, which is, you've been a pain in my butt, but your car is ready. Have the AI take care of this customer for me. And you see it's a much more professional message. Some of the other things that we think are very valuable on the generative AI, which includes analysis and sentiment, is understanding a conversation that a service advisor and the service department team is having with the customer, and what the next steps would be. So here's a very classic scenario. We have a customer, Brittany, right?
Right.
And she's been informed that there's some damage to her car, working on the resolution. Can you let us know when it's available for you to bring your car in? Now, the customer, Brittany, says, hey, look, it takes me a long time to get there, right? I have to take time off of work. It is very painful for me to bring my car in, right? I will bring it in, but I need the assurance that you're going to be done same day, because having to come back is a really bad outcome for me.
Yes.
Right? A lot of cases, imagine service advisor running around busy, right? The organization skills to process this and understand what to do next might not be there. They're just too busy to deal with the specifics when they're dealing with 50, 150 customers at the same time, 20, whatever it is in that particular day. So what's the AI doing here? And you can expand this and look at from a voice recording, all these other things. But what it's done is it's given a summary. So as a service manager or a service advisor, I can see the situation. Okay, that we've spoken to her. We see what the problem is, which is she does not want to bring the car in unless she can get it fixed that same day. No multiple trips. So it generates, this is the generative part of generative AI, an output, which is, let's make sure that we can do it same day, right? And let's respond with assurance, because she needs that reassurance that we can get it done that same day. So think about, AI has taken a conversation with a customer and generated the right to-do list for the service advisor. Let's talk about service managers a little bit, and how you can use it. Kind of cool.
It's interesting. I don't mean to interrupt. I would love to talk about the service managers, because one thing I find, and I don't know if this is valid or not, but I find I loved your description about the car dealership being like a hospital, but I often find people don't communicate within even their own arena, if you will, in the dealership. So I'd love to hear, yes, please, about the managers.
Yeah, you know how we've discovered that people communicate in car dealerships, particularly service departments?
Do tell.
Physical Post-it notes. You call the customer, calls in, reaches the BDC because they call the main line. They're angry because their service advisor hasn't gotten back to them. The BDC looks out the BDC office, doesn't see the service advisor, writes a Post-it note, customer angry, get back to them. Post-it notes, depending on the quality of the adhesive of the Post-it note, may or may not be seen by a service advisor. And the service advisor, are they held accountable by a Post-it note? Well, in a meeting, is the manager going to say, hey, the BDC person, Richard put a Post-it note on your desk and you didn't respond to it? No one's being held accountable with Post-it notes. Okay, so AI can take the information from a customer, and whether it's through a conversation with a BDC or a voicemail, can create an action that connects the right person to the dealership. So it can assign a task. It can tell the service advisor, hey, I'm going to need you to call this customer back, and it gets sent to them where their boss can see them. That's an example of, using internal communication to not just enable internal communication, but also hold people accountable.
I love that because, again, I see, and again, you're the expert on this, not me, but just in my world, I see so much miscommunication in there. And certainly, and we haven't gotten into this yet, between service and sales as well. So that's very interesting.
Totally. Well, so for those kind of wondering what we have on the screen here, if you can just scroll back to the top, Jason. I'm a service advisor in automotive leadership. Let's say I just started the job, and I'm trying to figure out how to manage my team. Give me an A/F grading score for my teams on how they handle customer interactions. All right. So I want to manage my team. Customer interactions is the biggest driver of success in my department. I want to give them a scale that I'm going to present to them and I'm going to hold them accountable to. Okay. So boom, you ask GPT. GPT obviously has scoured all the information regarding kind of customer interactions and what drives good customer interactions and what creates negative ones. And it's able to generate, generative AI again here, the key criteria. So it sees responsiveness, professionalism, problem resolution, product knowledge, customer follow-up, personalization, and satisfaction scores, all generated by it. And it gives the grading scale. You kind of scroll down. So here's how I would define exceptional. Okay, so I'm putting for each of the components of your grading scale, right? So you are responsiveness, for example, instant responses to all customer inquiries with no delays. That might come eventually with a number, which is you get back to customers within 10 minutes. Okay,
sure.
That's something that analytically you can track. That goes to the score of a service advisor. So it's not subjective. It's not like, like you're my golfing buddy, so you get the score. No. You're actually responsive.
Exactly.
Yeah, 90% of your interactions you get back to customers within 10 minutes. You score exceptional. I may not even like you that much, but you are a top performer. Okay, it allows us to serve. This is generated. Like you can kind of come into a service department and look good because you all of a sudden you have an entire management scorecard.
What would you say, as you're thinking about this and we're in service now, what would you say is the most important thing AI can do for a service manager?
I think the most important thing for a service manager is using AI to understand the performance of your department and drive accountability.
Okay.
So one of the biggest issues that we see our service managers and fixed ops directors have is they want to hire and train good people. Okay?
Right.
Customers are coming in. It's a hard job anyways, as we talked about. Yes. I don't know if the customers, if we're responding to customers fast enough. I don't know if we're mistreating the customers and being rude to them. I don't know if we're actually solving the problem. I don't know if we're perhaps being a little bit kind of over extreme, maybe kind of making like promises we can't deliver. I don't know what's going on because I'm not in every little interaction. I'm not watching every little phone call. AI can overlay on top of your department and understand how your customers are being treated. And when you can develop a report that allows you to do that, you can then hold your team accountable. That, I think, is number one. When the team knows they're being held accountable, their behavior changes. Famous Andy Grove.
Absolutely, yes.
If you measure it, it'll improve. So if you're able to measure things like customer responsiveness, customer friendliness, and do this kind of sentiment analysis as well, trust me, the service advisors are going to start being really responsive and really friendly to customers. AI can help you do that.
Do you want to, we've touched on it, but we haven't really explored it at all. Do you want to talk about the AI with the sales department?
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a specific question about that, and I'll jump ahead for all our viewers. Yeah. I apologize for that because I'm getting quite a few questions. But, it's funny. When I'm in service, once in a while, I'll have a salesperson come over and say, gee, would you like us to value your car for you. But the problem, and the reason I never do it, is it's such a hassle, because then they have to run, they have to get the used car manager, and then they have to do this, and then they have to do that. And then service, is all involved, and the car's on the lift, and we really can't do that right now. Is there a way that there's a synergy between sales and service that AI can certainly facilitate?
Yeah, for sure. So, and again, the used car component of a car dealership business is very profitable, especially when you're able to purchase the cars from customers that are bringing in their cars, particularly kind of for service. This game, right? So yeah, absolutely. So first of all, there's a few things here. One is an AI can assess based off of a whole bunch of criteria that your car, that I as a dealership will be able to, because of equity and the kind of car that it is, all the math is kind of, AI on this kind of analytical AI is able to determine that your car is a great outcome for us, right? So we would love to get your car into our used car lot because we can sell that for a profit, okay? So sure. Rather than like just randomly, because the other issue is like, hey, like, somebody may have asked you that, but it might be a bad idea. Maybe they're not going to make money off your car. Maybe it's going to sit in a lot for too long and you're going to lose the working capital. So the first thing AI can do is determine that you are an important target, that they should target you, okay? And a variety of reasons. Obviously, they can get you into a new car, right? They think they can upsell you additional F&I. So the profit of getting you, of the dealership buying your car, selling that, getting into a new car, upselling F&I, all of those components makes you massively lucrative. So that's the first thing that AI can do. The second thing is it can simplify the communication for you. So rather than you talking to 5 different people and them having to check with 5 different people, the AI can do all that for you. So you communicate with it, it's going to go out, get that information, and it'll make it a seamless experience for you. So you don't have to wait for some manager to get some information. At least kind of for the first component of this, determine whether you're actually somebody that is willing to sell their car.
We have covered so much ground here, but one thing I would like to hear more about, and I have an advantage on our viewers, of course, but I would like to hear more about, and I'm sure they would too. Tell us a little bit about your company. What sort of partners do you have? How closely does AI, get incorporated into the dealership workflows? What sets Numa apart is really what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so we believe that all the assembly of these technologies that we talked about, traditional AI, automation, generative AI, that a dealership principal and leaders of a delership are going to start to run what we call AI native and autonomous dealerships. So the dealerships are going to do a lot of these tasks for you. So our building blocks of Numa is to get to that. Okay, so we build AI, focusing on the service department right now, and we're building AIs that help service advisors, BDCs, the service department communicate with each other and help you book appointments, help you give status updates, help communicate internally. So the service advisor and the parts person are talking and building AIs to help those. So it's running the dealership and building these agents. Okay, so our big belief, and there's a lot of the advancement that's happening on with AI, is taking generative AI, analytical AI, and automation, and building agents that you hire to do tasks. Okay, and that's our thing. We want to give the great people that work at a car dealership superpowers using AI. So I can hire an agent to do something for me. Okay, I'm a service advisor. I'm really busy. I can hire an AI agent to handle status updates for me. And that agent will go off and get the right kind of information. There is a very modern, we're not there yet, but OpenAI talked last week about AI agents and a swarm. So I would, let's say, for example, I'm a service advisor, okay? Sure. And I need to give customers a status update, okay? So there's a status update agent. Now, the status update agent needs to get information about the status of, let's say, a special order part, which is holding back the timing of when a car will be fixed. Well, that might be another agent. So that one agent talks to another agent, okay? And they're swarming together to solve the problems. You would hire these. So the parts team would have its own agents, service advisor team would have their own agent, and the agents would kind of talk, interact with each other, and do a lot of the paperwork, a lot of the analysis, and a lot of the work to run the department. So that's what Numa is building up to. Right now, at the core, we are driving communication across the entire dealership and service department. So BDCs, like service advisors, parts team, everybody that's working in that service department, with AI agents to help them do their jobs better. Make sure that you're capturing every customer, making sure that the customers are happy, making sure that if a customer is unhappy, that you as a service manager are given a plan through generative AI to deal with it.
When I close, I'm going to talk a little more, or ask you a little more about your future plans. But I noticed we have a question. I'm going to jump ahead to that because it's one I had too, which is, do you integrate into DMS? How does AI incorporate into my workflows? Can you tell me a little bit about that, please?
Yes, absolutely. So we are a car dealership focused and exclusive AI company. So we've done integrations with all the major DMSs. We support them all. We support schedulers, Xtime. Our strategy is to both maximize the number of integrations that we do across like the wonderful kind of dealership ecosystem, and also kind of go deep and work very, very closely with all integration partners to better solve customers' problems. Okay. On the workflow side, so us is working from customer engages the dealership. So we are there at the front, helping answer the call, helping nurture the lead, helping book an appointment. If the customer needs a status update, providing status update. If the customer has questions for a specific person in the dealership, taking that information, using AI and directing it to the right person. Okay. So all of that to the customer brings in the car, and there's all the workflows, coordination with the BDC, service advisors, parts department, other folks, coordinating to provide a great customer experience. Numa, for example, think of us as a communication product at the core, a little bit like a WhatsApp group chat for your dealership with AI built on top of it, which is automatically doing things for you. Okay, so customer calls in, we all see it. Right, everyone can see it. We can see the status of the customer, whether they've now booked an appointment. Now they're in the shop. They're contacting the customer. They've left a voicemail for service advisor. That's very visible. Service advisor takes 2 days to get back to the customer. That's a problem. That gets flagged. Service manager is very involved. It's an operating system for you to see what's going on in your dealership and to pitch in and help your advisors and your BDC team solve customer problems. Okay. So that's the core. Really simple. Our philosophy. Where we've invested a lot in our product design to make it like a wonderful, kind of very elegant, easy product to use. We definitely see that. We have, for example, just to give you a sense, we're an AI company that has 14 people that are engaged with Numa every single month using Numa in a service department, which is an astonishingly high statistic. So pretty much everybody hops onto Numa. And then for people that are dealing with customers on a daily basis, we see 8 people in the service department at an average dealership use Numa 16 times a day. And they spend 40% of their time on Numa.
Love that. I love that. I'm just curious too, I'm thinking of dealership groups, and I'm thinking, and I don't want to get too far ahead because we will talk about, where you're going in the future, but I'm wondering, and I want to make sure I understand this. So really, Nancy's dealership, this is where Numa is operating. But if I have a second store, would that be something that you would look to have them coordinate a little bit with Numa? In other words, if I have a VW store and someone comes in and says, I want to buy a VW, but I have an Audi, and my other store is an Audi. Could Numa help me sort of coordinate so that somebody, the customer isn't running over to Audi, getting the, trade-in value, running back to VW? I'm just wondering, if that's something you'd see in the future.
If the dealer groups view that as a valuable pain that they need solved, we think that's obviously a very solvable problem.
really interesting. Do you work with OEMs at all? I'm just curious on that too.
Yep. We are in active discussions and are partnering with a bunch of them. We've not announced those deals publicly yet, although we are a GM IMR partner. But yeah, so our our view with OEMs is like we're looking to provide like exceptional customer experiences for dealers, and that's strategically in line with what the OEM wants. So they definitely love what we do.
How quickly, if I call you and I say, "Wow, I'd like to get up and running with Numa," how does that work? Can you tell me a little bit about do you train service advisors, or is there a big meeting, or how does this all work?
Yeah. So okay. So we pretty much integrate with your telephony system and can get up and running very quickly in hours. Now there are some it's called 10 DLC. There's some kind of back and forth, like some approvals we need to get to convert a phone number into texting. But fundamentally, we can get up and running very, very, very quickly. Unlike other products that like say, oh, like I do AI and I'm a set and forget product. We're not a set and forget product that you put to the side. Numa is an active engaged product, as I said. So we need customers that are serious about kind of getting onto the system, that take the training, and the training is very quick. I mean, we designed the product to feel like a consumer application, like a WhatsApp like application. So training, even though the product is very full feature rich, tends to go very, very quickly as well. So this is meant to be like a very, very quick onboard product. To give you a sense, by the way, when Numa first started many years ago, before we got into automotive, customers like doctors' offices would buy Numa and install it themselves without any input from us.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that DNA has transposed itself into making it really easy for our dealer partners to get up and running on Numa.
I do want to get into the questions, but first I want to go back to the future, if you will, not the movie, the conversation. You have mentioned a few things that you're looking at doing to expand Numa. Can you tell me just a little bit about the next 6 to 12 months? What do you see generative AI Numa specifically doing with dealerships?
I think I would say a few things. The first is handling correctly and creating a really good experience on the inbound from a customer. And that's not just us. I think this is where AI and automotive is going, right? So people calling in or web chat or texting or emailing a dealership that's a lead or somebody looking for an update. I think AI is going to be very helpful in making sure that gets handled better, okay? But a lot of that's already happening, okay? I would say that what I think is really powerful, and you're going to see it manifest itself in an amazing way in the next 6 months, is a sentient AI that understands what's going on in your dealership and is going to help the manager of the department or the dealer principal understand everything that's going on in their dealership regarding kind of the customers and how they're being treated and whether they're being responded to and whether customers are getting great experiences. That is going to be a very enlightening outcome, because you can imagine I'm sitting there running a dealership and I can see that, customers are getting, responded to within 5 minutes. This service advisor gets a lot of love from customers, and this other service advisor, who I suspected was grumpy, is driving really bad reviews into my Google My Business page. Okay, that kind of sentient understanding using AI is going to be a big part of what you're going to see in the next 6 to 12 months.
I'm going to get to a few of our viewers' questions. They've been very patient. This one, you've really touched on it a few times, but in fairness to the person, I'd like to just read it and see what you have to say about it, more specifically, perhaps. A lot of third-party softwares are already including their own generative AI in their software. Do dealerships really need to find a way to leverage AI themselves or lean on their vendors?
I think, look, some of the, and thank you for the question, some of these scenarios we gave are things that dealerships can do, right, for free today, okay? So 100% look at the AI tools that are out there and see how you can incorporate them into your workflow, kind of teach your team about them. So that you like 100% do. There are specific AI cases that require data, that requires integration, that require the understanding of a workflow that we think should be done by a company that's coordinating all that. So it's a combination of the two. I mean, you should absolutely do it yourself, and you should see what your vendors have.
Okay. All right. Odd question. I saw it as well with another viewer. Do you work with other vendors? Who does Numa work with, basically? Do you work with other vendors? Do you coordinate if they already have a vendor they're working with that would what do I want to say, collaborate, if you will, with Numa? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, schedulers, DMSs, phone systems, all those folks we work with. We are in discussions with other partners who want to use Numa to help message out to customers. So we want to be helpful. Our dealer partners are like, hey, I'm sending out a message to this customer. It's a very valuable message, and the customer is already interacting with Numa. That's where the customer sees the relationship with the dealership. So we're like 100%. We will do the work and integrate with third parties to be able to work with Numa.
And then another, I think, really great question is, can you explain how Numa is different from Microsoft 365 Copilot?
Okay, yeah. So there's a few things. So like some similarities. So think about the auto-specific components of your job as a service advisor. Okay. So I need to let's see. I need to coordinate a customer coming in. Okay. With figuring out what's wrong with their car, and then if there's an issue, or not an issue, if we have to wait on a part, and I have to give them updates. So if you think about the customer journey, not the service advisor's kind of job, if you will, the customer journey. They brought their car in. I need to get a bunch of information from the shop and from the from the RO and communicate that information to the customer, and then the customer wants status updates, and those status updates are dependent on communication and information in specific databases in the dealership, and talking to specific people in the dealership, like the parts example that I gave. That level of workflow and data integration is very unique to automotive. Okay, so we do that for the service advisor. That's the goal of what we're trying to do. Versus a Copilot, which helps you kind of add generative AI to maybe a message to your customer, which we also do as well. But you don't have to go into a separate application to be able to do that.
We are almost out of time, but I would love to just wrap up with what people always ask me when I give a presentation, which is an elevator pitch. What sort of business impact should a dealership expect from incorporating AI into our operations? If we were in an elevator, how would you answer that for me?
I think that use AI to make sure that you are capturing and handling all your leads, and providing using these tools to provide exceptional kind of customer service. Those are two key fundamental things. Those are the big drivers to your profitability. And AI can help with those things, whether it's answering all your calls or making sure that interactions with customers are very, very responsive and friendly.
Tasso, this was an incredible presentation. Thank you so much. And thank all of Numa, of course, for making today's event possible. I always like to also end with saying, is there anything else you'd like to add to the folks who are listening out there?
Yeah, so we are starting developing a lot of content to help our dealer partners or anyone who's interested, obviously, in terms of incorporating kind of AI, generative AI, but also all like agents. If you want to see some of the content that we're going to create, including kind of the top 3 use cases for your dealership, you can email me directly at tasso@numa-auto.com. That's Tasso, Tasso, at numa-auto.com. We'll send you a bunch of reports that we're developing that way.
Tasso, thank you. And as a reminder to everyone watching, you will receive a follow-up email, and we will include a link to view a recording of today's presentation. So if you found this event useful, please feel free to share it with your colleagues and other folks who are interested. Now, once you leave the event today, a short survey will pop up, and we'd appreciate it too if you would share your feedback on this event, as it helps us provide content that is more interesting for you. Tasso, again, thank you. And on behalf of WardsAuto and the entire Informa Tech Group, everyone, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.